today I want to go over 3 things that I have learned while teaching math to my kids in homeschool. There are several things that you learn as you homeschool, but these are the top 3 that that's really helped open my eyes and helped me teach them and be better at it. Okay, so the 3 things I have learned. Patience, and this can be like patience in general, or patience while you have to repeat the process to do a problem day after day after day after day after day. And sometimes you just have to move on. And the third one would be just throw them in. Okay, so I'll go over these 3. Okay, so patience. Our 3rd year of homeschooling, our math, my oldest daughter, her math was a mess. The 1st and 2nd year, math was great. She was, getting it just up there and everything. Our 3rd year, math was a disaster. Not just the 1st month, but like day 1 through the last day of that school year. It was a disaster. It was a mess. It was just, I can't even describe how bad it was. Well, maybe not every single day, but it felt like every single day. She would be crying. I would be upset. Looking back, we've been homeschooling for 8 years now, so knowing what I know now and did not know then, looking back, I know that it was my fault, completely 100% my fault, but at that time, I did not know some things that I know now, so at that time I thought it was her fault. I thought she just didn't want to do it or just wasn't paying attention while a lesson was being taught. But the 3rd year of math was just horrible, just bad. She'd cry pretty much every day. I'd be upset pretty much every day. It was really bad. I'm very ashamed to say, it was really bad. But the reason I wanted to say that is because especially the last 3 years, even when we come to a point in math to where she just can't get it, I have learned patience. Like how I reacted, the way I reacted in our 3rd year of math versus the way I react now are polar opposites. They're just complete opposites. I have learned in all these years of homeschooling that it's okay if they don't get it that day, They'll get it the next day, or maybe the next week, or maybe the next month, or even the next year, but they will get it. So be patient. Okay, in time, they'll get it. Okay, in time, things will come in line. Everything's going to be okay. Alright, just work on their level and their skill set. So patience in general. Another area of patience would be patience in repeating yourself and repeating the step-by-step process every day. So this year, my youngest, she's doing teaching textbooks for math. We started that, I think, in December or January, that she's doing teaching textbooks. Well, after the first month of doing that, they started giving her a problem. Every single day for like a couple weeks, she had many problems, but like one of the last problems listed same. And it was a word problem, and it was something to the effect like, Billy is 13 years older than Sally, and Sally is 10 years older than Sue, and Sue is 15 years old. How old is Billy? So that's like a 3 or 4 step, multi-step problem to figure out. So the first day when they gave her that problem, I knew right away what she had to do, but she didn't. And she's like, what do I do here? So I walked her through it, and she seemed to get it. Well, the next day, they gave her a problem like that again, just different names and different numbers. And she's like, what do I do? And I said, well, I just showed you yesterday. She's like, well, I forgot. So I walked her through it again. The next day, same thing. The next day, same thing. And after about the 4th or 5th day of this, I was starting to get a little annoyed, just inwardly. I mean, I didn't express it, but I was like, man, why can't she, she's smart, why can't she remember this process? But I was like, it's okay, because she will get it. So I just gave her the process again. And then, the very next day, and from that day on, this is now May, she has been doing those problems completely by herself and getting them 100% correct. So not only just patience with, learning something, but patience with teaching, okay? You may have to repeat the process every day. They will get it, okay? So just be patient with that. Okay, another thing, move on, okay? My oldest, I think she's in 3rd grade, 2nd or 3rd grade, but I think it was 3rd grade. She was learning her multiplication tables. And that school year, her 3rd grade school year, I'm pretty sure, she had learned her multiplication tables. I mean, the lower ones, like 0 to 5 or 6. I think she knew all those. We hadn't covered the upper ones yet. But she learned them. She knew them all really, really good. Well, then this summer happened, and we didn't do school. Nothing. Well, then, when we started school again that fall, she did not know her multiplication tables at all. I mean, she could do 0, 1, and 2, but 3s and 4s, I guess she could do 5s, but 3s and 4s, she had no clue. And I was like, what? I just didn't understand why she couldn't remember them. Well, I need to work on it through the summer too, I have since learned. So, in her math book, when she started 4th grade, I think it was, in her math book, we were doing lesson after lesson, and she hadn't memorized her multiplication tables. I mean, we'd been working on them, but she just couldn't get them in her mind. So, in her math book, we were doing lesson after lesson, and then it got to this certain point to where we could not proceed in her math book until her multiplication tables were memorized. Or so I thought. But anyhow, that's what it was. That's what I thought at that time, that we can't move forward until her multiplication tables, her facts, are memorized. So, I just put the book away, and for the remaining, half or 3/4 of that school year, I bought her those little $1 or $2 multiplication and division books that you can buy at Walmart or the Dollar Tree or the dollar store, that are nothing but multiplication and division. So that's what I bought her. And so for the rest of the school year, the rest of the half of 3/4 of the year, she just done those books, and that was it. Completely, that was it. And she, thought it was kind of fun. Anyhow, so that's what we done. And I thought that by doing that, that just focusing on the multiplication facts, that would help, get it in her head. So, when she was in 5th grade, she still did not have them in her head. So, I felt like I could not keep her back. I felt like I shouldn't let that, keep her from progressing in other math topics. I mean, she understood, and I need to clarify here, she understood the process of multiplication. She understood what it meant, and she could even do, big multiplication problems, like multiplying a 4-digit number by a 4-digit number. She could carry and add it, and then add all the rows. She could do that. It's just the facts she couldn't memorize. Okay? So I think I should just clarify that there. Okay. So when she was in 5th grade, I knew that she knew the process of doing the math, but she just didn't have the facts memorized. And I felt like I shouldn't just let that keep her from moving forward in other math topics. So, I decided to do something that they do not recommend doing. So, it's your own decision if you decide to do this or not. But what I done is I just gave her a cheat sheet, like right here, like just a multiplication chart. I just gave that to her, and I said, here, do this lesson, and, if they require your multiplication, to multiply something, just look at that. So that's what she did every day for her 5th grade year. Whenever she would have math, she'd get that sheet out, and, she would just use that to help her, because she knew all the processes, it's just she couldn't memorize the facts. So that's what we done that year, and that's not something we recommend, but that's what we done. Now this year, she is in 6th grade, and this year's over. She's done with her 6th grade school year, and there has not been one day that she has used that sheet. She has them all in her head now. We just moved on, and by just giving her that sheet the previous school year, I felt like it relieved the anxiety of her stressing about, oh no, I don't know the facts, what is 9 times 7? Because they would give her a problem, and she'd get so hung up, like it could be like 937 times 23, or, 28. She'd get so hung up on, what is 8 times 7, that by the time she struggled in her mind to count, by 8, and get that problem done, it would take her so long. And so by giving her that sheet the year before, it kind of just freed up that burden, that anxiety, that stress, that pressure of, the fear of, I've got to know this, and it's going to take me forever. So she could just quickly look at that and get the answers. Well, by doing that whole year, she now has these in her mind. She just knows them now. And so for us, I feel like that was the way to go. We just moved on. So, because everything will come back around anyhow. Well, most of the things. But I felt like that was the right decision for us. So that might be an option for you. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about is called just throw them in. Well, that's what I refer to it as. And this one is something kind of neat, I guess. This is something I actually learned on I think I learned it in our first year of homeschooling. I think so. It was with subtraction. Yeah, it would have been our first year of homeschooling. So our first year of homeschooling, when we would do our math lesson, or any lesson, but I'm focusing on math, I would take the worksheet out of the book, put it on my daughter's desk. I would go to the whiteboard, like if that topic was going to be about, subtraction, I would go to the whiteboard and I would start teaching. I'd start reviewing addition and then connect that to the subtraction, and teach it. Well, so the day had come for her to do subtraction, and she had never done it before. To my knowledge, had no idea what it meant. I took the sheet out of the book, I put it on her desk, and then something happened outside the classroom that called me away. I don't know if it was the baby or a phone call or what, but I never got to teach her that lesson at that moment. I had to leave the room. So I left the room to take care of whatever it was. When I came back, she had all of those problems done, and they were correct. And I was really confused. I said, how did you know to do this? I didn't teach it to you. Maybe they had little pictures or something, and she just connected the two instead of just being pictures. She connected it that, hey, these might be referring to numbers, and, she just looked at it and just analyzed it and assumed that's what you do. And she was right. From that day forward, that was like our first year of homeschooling, all the way to now, what I have always done with both of my girls with math, ever since I saw that my oldest had done that, whenever I give them a new topic for math, I have them look at one of the problems, and I'm like, what do you think you would do here? And most of the time, my oldest has been right, or really, really close to being right. But I just throw them in. I'm like, here's a problem. Before I teach it to you, what do you think you would do? And so if she's right, then she's right. And sometimes, depending on what it is, I'll tell her, that's right, because, or if she's wrong, then I'm like, no, that's not right, because, and then I will teach the topic then. But by me doing that, I have learned that my oldest thinks differently than I do. And that's a good thing about homeschooling. It's like when you're in public school, you have 30 kids in a classroom, and the teacher teaches one way, okay? So, as far as there's only one way to do the problem. Well, not every child learns the same way. So by me just throwing my child in and saying, here's the problem, how do you think you do it? If she is able to figure it out on her own, she may figure it out the same way I would have taught it, and sometimes she has figured it out a different way. A way that I'm like, hey, I've never even thought of that before. That makes sense too. And yes, that would work. But she has a different way of thinking. And, kids need to use the way that works best for them. And that's one reason why I loved Singapore math when we used that, because it would present a way to teach a topic like 2, 3, or 4 different ways, depending on how many ways there were. It would present different ways to do the lesson, to figure the problem out, and that's what I really liked about Singapore. But anyhow, so my daughter, she figures out different ways to do math, and there's nothing wrong with that. Whatever works best for her to figure out the correct answer, that's what is important. Just some things that I have learned while teaching math, and I hope you could follow me. I kind of felt like I was all over the place, but so those were patience in general, patience while you, the teacher, has to repeat the process of how to do the problem over and over, day after day after day. Just be patient, they will get it. Sometimes you just have to move on, and sometimes just for curiosity maybe, and kind of see how their mind thinks, just throw them in. Ask them how they would do a certain problem. But anyhow, thank you for watching.